Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here for this Masterclass Gut Health for Mothers. I'm Kate Pope. If you don't know me, I am a wild nutritionist on Instagram, and I have two babies. One is 3.5, and my other baby is 18 months. And let's see, I started this page and this mission because of my own body, my own family, my own babies. I had a C-section with my son Augie, and that was unexpected and not planned. And basically, what transpired at the hospital ended up with my son having a bunch of symptoms, and that was anything ranging from digestive, skin, immune, as well as he had a lot of reflux. And so I started to speak differently on my page and talk about the impact of the microbiome for the mother and the baby. And it's pretty amazing because children just really put you in your place and get you where you need to be. And so I am grateful for them and that experience because, which has taken me a long time to get there to say that, not for my kids, but for the experience of the C-section, because it really woke me up and had me talk about things in a completely different way, which has allowed me to basically be more bold, be more real, and have even more clear idea of what I do want, right? Sometimes what happens, like when we have something that we don't want, and it just shows us actually what we do want. So that's a little bit about me. Wild Nutritionist is a page where I educate moms. I teach about cooking. I teach about sourcing. It all comes back to the land. And today we're going to talk about gut health for mothers. So I'm going to spend about 40 minutes teaching the material, and then we're going to have some time for questions. And I'm going to tell you about Mama Baby Biome, which is very exciting because I took Mama Baby Biome off the market in March, and I was planning on getting it back pretty quickly, but it took me longer than I thought, and that's okay because I'm a busy mom. But Mama Baby Biome was the first course I ever created, and it was all about healing my body to help my child heal their body. And so Mama Baby Biome is getting re-released this week. This call is a kickoff for that, to celebrate that and to give you guys an extra special deal on that course. So I am going to talk about that as we're going through the material, and also a lot at the end so that you can know which way you want to work with me, right? Okay, so nursing the baby and starting with the lesson. Practicality. So this is something that is really, really important for moms, because if it's not practical, how are we supposed to do it? And a lot of times, just these concepts online, like nervous system health, gut health, immune resilience, it's like, well, what does that actually mean? And I have spent a lot of time trying to put into words what that actually means, and also living it, right? Everything that I teach here, I live every single day because I feel my best. And so I don't teach something that doesn't actually translate as something that is really what's best for me and my family. And the practicality of gut health really has to start in slow and incremental changes. Now, there are cases where mothers are pretty desperate. They're really at the end of their rope, and symptoms are so much bogging them down, both with themselves and their children, that they're just like ready to make a change right away. And I love that too, because I've been in those places before. It's just like, you just rip everything out of the pantry and you're like, okay, we're ready to go. But what about that becomes long lasting? So we just have to make sure that when we have those moments that we actually continue to make the changes. She's going to have about one more minute here, and then we're going to get her to her dad. So So practically, gut health at its very core means eating delicious food and being satisfied by what you're eating. Because our gut is actually, here you go. Great. Okay, now we're going there. Our gut is a part of our digestion. So when we digest our food well, we have a healthy gut. The next step to that would be when we eat the foods that are best for our human physiology, we have a healthy gut, right? So pretty simply, this breaks down to foods that nourish you deeply as a mom, that really honor the season that you're in. So I work with a lot of moms in the immediate postpartum. I work with a lot of moms with toddlers and with babies, right, who are, about to start solids. And so what that means is that they need a lot of nutrient density, because if we are feeding a baby off of our body or we are repairing for birth, there is actual nutrition that your body craves and needs. And so the practicality around gut health and practical steps to do every day is helping your gut function really, really well. So, how is that digestive cascade working? And two, making sure that the foods you're eating are optimal for the season that you're in. That's like the basic foundation of good gut health. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about the digestive system. Where do you think your digestion begins? So, digestion actually begins in your brain, and this is a part of your nervous system. So, your brain stem, your nervous system, your nerves, your brain, all of that is a part. Yeah, smell. Exactly. I love that. So, smell is one of your senses. You would smell your food, and that would prepare you to eat. So, there's a pre-step before actually putting the food in our mouth, which is in our brain and our senses, which prepares the body to eat. Now, you might have heard about your nervous system and how you want your nervous system to be calm, but that's not exactly the full story. So, we have parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, and we have sympathetic. So, what you've probably heard, some version of parasympathetic is good, sympathetic is bad, but it's more nuanced than that. So, parasympathetic is a rest and digest state. Sympathetic is your healthy charge. So we can have a sympathetic under stress, right? Which would be like, in a historical context, running away from the saber-toothed tiger. Or I also love those stories of moms who, like, they do crazy feats to save their child. They can lift a car up to get their kid out, or they, can run into a burning house and get their kid out. And that is because sympathetic under threat, we have these superpowers. It's essentially hormonal and we can get things done, right? So sympathetic under, not under stress, is just like the energy to get out of bed in the morning, right? Sympathetic is how we get things done. So it's not that one part of your nervous system is good or bad. It's that both have a purpose and we want them to be able to be flexible and for that purpose to serve us at the right times. So, for example, if we are stuck in a sympathetic fight or flight all the time in our system, digestion is going to become hard. But parasympathetic, it's not good or bad. It's parasympathetic, not under stress, is rest and digest, right? So we are resting, digesting, we're relaxing, we're receiving. But parasympathetic in our nervous system under stress is flight or freeze. So I work with moms a lot in this case because I'm often helping moms reverse and solve allergens. And and that means that we have to be, sorry, one second. So that means that we have to not be in a freeze state or a flight, run, flight, run, running from our problems, or freeze, frozen, can't move in order to digest well. So this is something that I go more deeply into in Mama Baby Biome because I want people to have that basic understanding and to have tools to get out of those states. So let's just take the example of a parasympathetic freeze. So a parasympathetic state under stress. We are frozen. This is like the idea where you can't move, you can't make the decision. If you're in an argument, you lose your tongue, right? You suddenly can't talk. That's a sign that in parasympathetic, you have a freeze going on. And so one of the things that we can do to get out of a freeze is to literally shake our body, right? So much of what I teach comes from an embodied place. And embodiment is just like presence in your body, right? So feeling, sensing, being alive in your body, a literal shake can help get you out of freeze. Another thing I talk about in terms of a freeze state in the nervous system is literally thawing out. So warming your nervous system, warming your belly, warming up your digestion before you consume your food is one of the steps you can take to thaw out your nervous system. So meat stock is a beverage that I teach. It's not bone broth. It is different. And it is very healing for the gut, very nourishing for the nervous system, and it's warm. And so we focus on drinking and eating warm foods all throughout, especially the early mothering continuum, but I would say all throughout for women in general, because this is preparing our digestion to consume, break down, and assimilate foods. Essentially, what we want to do with healthy digestion is break down and assimilate those nutrients so that the nutrients can go all around the body and do what they need to do. Any questions or thoughts on that piece right there? You can throw it into the chat. Okay, great. If another question happens to come up, feel free to ask it. So, practical steps about nourishing your gut on the daily. You have to know a little bit about your nervous system states, what's going on with your nervous system so that you can prepare your digestion to receive nutrition. Next up is chewing our food. We have to chew our food really, really well. We swallow it, and then we have to have a good amount of stomach acid. So chewing our food, we're mechanically breaking down the food. This is why if you have a scarfer, someone who just eats food really fast, you probably also have someone who has really stinky farts because we're not allowing our food to be fully broken down in the mouth where we have to pay attention. So anytime I see digestive issues south, which means like at the end of your digestive cascade, so troubles, gas, bloating, all that kind of stuff, I want to look north. I want to first look at the nervous system state, and then I want to look at how well are you chewing your food, and then I want to look at stomach acid. So stomach acid is very, very important. We have a big bowl of acid in our stomach, and we need this pH to be a very specific number, which is 0.5 to 1.5. And that is extremely acidic. It is the same pH as a vulture. So humans have very acidic stomachs for a reason, and that is because we are meant to digest meat. We are meant to break down protein with our HCl, hydrochloric acid, and our pepsin, enzymes that are in our stomach that help us to break down proteins. Now, if you have a reflux or you have a baby that has reflux and you think that is because you have too much stomach acid, that's actually incorrect information. But if we look at this from a physiologic standpoint, we have this big bowl of acid, which is meant to be there, and the esophagus, the pH is much higher of the esophagus. So it means it's more base. So acidic is like apple cider vinegar, and then base would be like baking soda. In our stomach, we have hydrochloric acid, and then at our esophagus level, that is very base. So if for whatever reason there is acid pushing up against the esophagus, this is going to burn. But it doesn't mean you have too much stomach acid. It means you have too little. And that's likely because the stomach acid cannot fully digest food, and then that food that is wrapped up in the acid is getting pushed up against the esophagus because it stays in the stomach for too long. This has to do with your microbes and stress and the type of foods you eat. I see it all the time, and it's actually a really easy fix. So when it comes to babies, it's hard because babies are, there's just only so much food we can give them to support them at a certain age of their life. But if they're having breast milk, then we can absolutely change what mom is eating to support how well they can digest that milk. And we can also support mom's stomach acid so she's better digesting the foods that she's eating to support her baby. So I know that a lot of you here may or may not have young babies, but regardless of what phase you're at, having your stomach acid be robust is profound because it enables you to actually digest and break down the foods that you're eating. So if we're talking about digestion, we're talking about these issues that are coming up around our gut health, we have to functionally be able to do it. And it's so easy. First of all, our stomach acid declines with our age. Second of all, stress, processed foods, and microbiome imbalances can all impact how much stomach acid we have. So anytime you're beginning a journey of healing your gut, of improving your digestion, of adding in more practicality around what you eat every day so that your gut feels better, so that you have your energy, we want to look at it functionally. And I love this approach. Like, this is the bread and butter, right? Because all we have to do is make sure that the organs can do their job well. We do that for them gradually over time, and then you feel better and better and better, even sometimes without having to change your diet. I know a lot of people here have worked on a bunch of different, food protocols, elimination diets, etc. And a lot of what people are missing is just the functionality piece of not being able to digest as well as they could. And then once they get that part down, they're going to get better signals around what to actually eat. Yeah. Okay. So I saw something in the chat. Any other questions about the stomach acid piece? It could be about reflux, burping, gas, anything like that. You can throw it in the chat. So Sierra says, is the warmth of the drink supportive for unfreezing the nervous system? Yes, exactly. So the warmth of the drink, but also what the drink actually is. So your nervous system is a very hungry organ. It loves fats, and specifically fat-soluble vitamins. It loves B vitamins. So when we drink meat stock, we are soothing ourselves. Anytime we slow down, take in a warm beverage, we're warming up our digestive cascade. We're making our digestion better. So we're assimilating nutrients better, but we're also giving our body the nutrients that it loves. So in my meat stock latte, I have meat stock, I have ghee, and I have egg yolks. So all of these things are supporting my brain health. I eat so many egg yolks every single day because it keeps me absolutely the most sharp. It's really good for the immune system. It's full of the B vitamins, which most people, if you're having like anxiety, depression, you need more B vitamins. You need more building blocks for your neurotransmitters, and you need to work on your microbiome health. And I've done all of that because my whole family line has a history of anxiety and depression. I had anxiety and depression, and both of those reasons were a big impetus for me to start healing my body and healing myself. So with this nervous system piece was just so interesting. Like, again, it's that idea. We have this, you hear it online, you've heard about your nervous system, take care of your nervous system, calm down, etc. Well, there's more to that story. And also, people aren't talking about literally what does the organ need to thrive? Like, what does your brain thrive on? And so when I am having egg yolks full of choline, full of B vitamins, full of vitamin A, all of that is going directly to my brain. It's raw. I put it in the hot drink raw. And so it's like instant digestion for my body. I can immediately use it, which is fantastic. Great. So a couple more chats in here. Cool. Sam says, how do you know if you have issues with stomach acid, burping, gas? Yeah. So anytime there is a digestive issue, we would want to look at stomach acid. In the first lesson in Mama Baby Biome, second module, first lesson, we talk about digestion. We have a stomach acid test, and you essentially do this with hydrochloric acid, and you see what happens when you intake hydrochloric acid and how it impacts your body. And based on how it impacts your body, that is what signals to you whether you need more stomach acid or not. I can pretty much like go out on a limb and say that most people need more, not less. Everybody needs more, not less. There's a very rare occasion. And most modern people are needing more digestive support, but you don't have to rely on the stomach acid supplement forever. It's just a brief time where you boost your stomach acid and your body says, oh, great, I can make more of this. I know how to do this. And it starts to. And also the foods that you're eating. So ironically, we have nutritional cofactors that are needed to create stomach acid. But if we're not able to digest our foods well because we have low stomach acid, we cannot extract those chemical cofactors to make more stomach acids. So we boost our body for a period of time, and then we start producing more and more on our own. One, because the HCl itself signals the body to make more, and two, because we're able to extract zinc and other nutritional cofactors which help our body make stomach acid. All right. For a mom, is having apple cider vinegar recommended for stomach acid? Yes, Priscilla. So apple cider vinegar is a great option. I actually use all food remedies for children. So in my course, Mama Baby Biome, you'll learn how to support stomach acid in your toddler and in an adult, because in order to take an HCl supplement, you would have to be able to swallow a capsule. But there's a lot of like food remedies that you can use ahead of using the HCl capsule, which will support your body's own production of stomach acid, and HCl is one of them. So interestingly, I pretty much use very few supplements in my practice. I'm a food first nutritionist, meaning I'm always working on what foods can we take in to heal our bodies. The reason is because it's more affordable, it's more integrative, and but it also, the main reason is it works the best. So that is the main reason, because our bodies are designed to digest foods. Now, at the same time, there are certain supplements that can be a real boost and a real support, again, especially around that function piece. So I learned, my first training was functional nutrition. So what I've been talking to you about here is the organ system, the process of digestion, and how we support that process so that you can get all the nutrients you need from food. That's basically what functional nutrition is. So supplementation is a great, like for me, after having a C-section a couple years ago, stomach acid was first thing I got on, because they gave me this weird drink. Like, I don't even know what it was, but I remember afterwards it was so sour. And I've actually talked to a nurse about this since then. It was so sour, it like burned my stomach. And I looked at the nurse and I was like, what was that? And she was like, oh, that's to make it so you don't throw up. Usually people throw up right when they get that so that they don't throw up in the surgery. And I'm just like, okay. Okay. She's like, it's really cool you didn't throw up. I'm like, yeah, I'm not most people. I have super strong stomach acid. But anyway, that's just an aside. So after that surgery, anytime after antibiotics, a surgery, a stressful event, even after a birth that went wonderfully well, stomach acid could be something that you rely on for a period of time. For example, I bring stomach acid, like an HCl supplement and enzymes with me when I travel, because food is like not how I make it at home. And so I just have that as a tool in my toolkit, not something that I have to rely on all the time. Okie dokie. What is meat stock? So, meat stock is not bone broth. It is a shorter cook time, and it always comes from raw meat with a joint in it. I have a free meat stock guide if you want to download that. I also teach about meat stock in all of my courses because it's the foundational healing piece for our microbiome and our gut. It is a collagenous rich broth that is really great for moms, children, and babies. It's actually the first food that I start my kids on and teach moms to start their kids on. It's a very healing tonic. Okay, so Jazina is asking, if I have time, can I answer this? When should you take baking soda or apple cider vinegar? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so earlier I was describing that I was just using, like, giving you guys a picture of acid versus base. So acid would be something more like apple cider vinegar, base would be baking soda. Our esophagus is the pH is higher. And so it's more delicate. And when there's overgrown pathogens in the stomach and there's food that's maldigested and there's low stomach acid, food will not be properly digested. A chemical reaction will not occur. It will putrefy, it will ferment, and it will push up against the esophagus and cause a burning sensation, which we all know is heartburn. So that's actually a symptom of not too much stomach acid. It's a symptom of too little stomach acid. Now, baking soda can be great. Even if you have low stomach acid, you wouldn't want to ever drink it around mealtime, but baking soda is just really a wonderful thing. You can pinch it in your water throughout the day. Again, don't drink it around mealtime. But you could have that even if you have low stomach acid, like throughout the day. And then right before your meals, that's when you would do the apple cider vinegar, or you would do the HCl supplement, which is what I teach in the course. Paige is asking, should we do the meat stock before we do warm water and apple cider vinegar before meal? Yeah, you totally could. Have there been cases where people were able to discontinue PPIs for chronic acid reflux by incorporating meat stock into their diet? Yes, you can absolutely wean off the PPIs, but you need to use the stomach acid supplement to do so. And yeah, you have to, and changing your diet, of course, would add in as well. But getting off those PPIs is the best. I mean, even on the labels, they say this is meant for 14 days, 7 days. And there's actually a cascade. It's like fast food, PPIs, antidepressants. And my father-in-law is right in that pipeline. His diet is, he actually eats a huge variety of foods, but he eats a lot of standard American diet. And then he's on the proton pump inhibitors and has been for years. And then he's on the antidepressants because he's not able to digest his food. He's not able to get any of the nutrition that would be from that low quality diet. Amanda. Okay, do you have suggestions for a body that doesn't seem to be absorbing protein? I am breastfeeding, dealing back and forth with thrush, mama and baby, solo parenting. I eat organic meat at every meal, local eggs, increased fat, no grains, supplement with homeopath. Yes, good job, Amanda. Doing amazing. Yeah, you need to support your stomach acid. That would be so fantastic for you. And then the thrush is yeast. So it's good you've already cut out the grains, and I can definitely help you with that in Mom Baby Biome. We have a whole yeast section, and I was quite yeasty myself and got that under control. What's the cause of having too little stomach acid? So, like I said, stomach acid declines with our age. Just generally over time, we get less and less stomach acid. But the main cause of having too little stomach acid is stress. So we're not making our stomach acid because we're too stressed. Pretty common. A lot of our bodily functions are impaired because we're just really stressed in our modern world. The other is nutritional deficiencies. So we need nutritional cofactors to make stomach acid. And then the last main cause is microbial imbalances. So if we have yeast overgrowth in the stomach, which is caused from, a diet too high in sugar, even from your past, like this can be, like you've had a cleaned up diet for a while, but your stomach acid could still be lingering and too low, actually. My throat burns when I drink apple cider vinegar. What can I take instead? Well, so for that, I would say that try diluting it. And then perhaps I would just go for, you could do sauerkraut brine, you could do fresh pressed cabbage juice, but I would probably start working with the apple cider vinegar when you are eating food. Or sorry, not apple cider vinegar, working with the HCl. Anyone think babies have less acid in the stomach? Whenever my baby pukes, I feel like it's smelly and less acidic. It's less smelly and less acidic. Yeah, baby puke can be different. It doesn't have to smell super acidic depending on how long the milk has been in there. So if it doesn't come up curdled, really the milk hasn't been in there very long to be digested or broken down. Okay, baby 14 months is having trouble digesting proteins. Yep, so you need to do probiotic support, apple cider vinegar. Okay, I'm going to stop there. This is great. I'm so glad all these questions, love them coming in. I just want to pause on this topic and move on so that we make sure we get all of our topics covered. So the next one is root, but I will come back to the chat. Root of mom fatigue. So this one flows really, really nicely because we were just talking about digesting our foods. If we cannot digest our foods and assimilate the nutrients from those foods, how could we possibly expect to feel our best, right? We need to be able to digest our foods. So, I mean, fatigue, a lot of times, this is the real answer. You're fatigued because you seriously need to rest. That is so real and so true. And I can already hear you saying, but I don't have time to rest. Well, we have to start to trick ourselves, basically. We have to rest in moments which aren't actually restful necessarily, but can be restful, easeful, peaceful. And then we also need deep, deep sleep. So this goes back to the nervous system being fueled, the nervous system being adequately expressed, and getting out of old states. That can be exhausting if you have these old nervous system patterns which are lingering. And my route to healing this and having a stable, balanced nervous system is through food. It's like, yes, we are going to do some nervous system practices. We are going to get out of those stuck places, but we can't do that without that biochemical foundation. So if we think about like four domains of healing, we have like a biochemical, we have, oh gosh, now I'm not going to be able to remember them all. This is from a lineage of work that I learned from Kimberly Ann Johnson. So we have different ways that we heal essentially, and one is biochemical, and that's pretty much what I would cover. I think relational, like physiological, anatomical, and then I'm not sure what the fourth one is. But these are always like there's always an in route into healing. And for what I teach here, the foundation of food is right there at the bottom, the base, meaning that we can't stack much more else on top without getting that base super secure. And it's also kind of like a cheat, like it's an override because like I said, there's a literal nerve there. And if it doesn't have enough myelin covering the nerve, so in our nervous system, myelin sheath is 80% made up of cholesterol. And so if you're not literally intaking enough cholesterol, especially in the childbearing continuum, you're going to feel frayed. You're going to feel exposed. Why? Because your myelin is literally not able to do its job well enough. So that's why I think about nutrition in this way. That's why I guess it's kind of like the biohacking idea, but I don't think biohacking is so much for women because we are already doing everything. And I guess I just don't see it as like a hack. I see it more as like just an integrative piece. But it's like I wake up and I'm like, whoa, I got a lot to do today. My kids are next level, putting 6 yolks in my tea. My husband's like, 6 yolks? I'm like, yeah, I got to be able to function. I got to be able to like talk, and answer a bunch of questions today. And so I want my brain working. I want to feel good in my body. And I rely on those kinds of foods all the time, big fatty hunks of meat, because I need that protein. I need that tissue to repair. So getting there with the mom fatigue, there's a huge piece, which is just like sleep when you sleep. Please sleep. Go to sleep early. I know I do it too. I'm like, I just want to get up. I want time without my kids, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes, at least 3 nights a week, I stay in there when they go to bed because I need it. I need the rest. I need 12 hours of darkness. Even if I'm not sleeping in there the whole time, it's like 8:30 to 8:30, I'm in the bed. And it really makes a big difference. So if you're fatigued, chronically fatigued, that is something maybe hard to hear, but it's really, really important. And then the next piece would be your adrenal health. So your adrenals are glands. They sit on top of your kidneys, adrenal, right? They're at the back of your body. And these are meant to help you secrete small amounts of hormones when you need it. But if we're in chronic stress or we have a huge stressor in our life, then we can constantly be relying on the cortisol to get things done to the point where we rely on the cortisol so much that we're constantly have cortisol in the bloodstream, which is messing with our blood sugar dysregulation, giving us cravings. And ultimately, we are so tired, but running on E, essentially. And I know women in my family, in my life, who are absolutely at this stage of adrenal fatigue. There's 4 phases of adrenal fatigue. And stage 4 is basically bedridden, or like can't stay awake, falling asleep at random times, that kind of thing. Big bags under the eyes, dark circles, all of that. And what do our adrenals love? They love fats. They love cholesterol. We got to get you off the cortisol loop, off of I'm going to rely on this emergency state all the time, back into being able to flex from a healthy sympathetic charge to a parasympathetic rest digest, and you'll start to feel a lot better. Now, part of the reason why people feel so fatigued literally is just they're eating the wrong foods. They're eating the wrong foods, their blood sugar's dysregulated, and so they're constantly on this glucose roller coaster where it's spiking and dropping and spiking and dropping. And this is like hanger. This is shakiness before meals. You get dizzy or see stars when you stand up. That's your adrenals. You are constantly craving sugar, looking for sugar, wanting caffeine or some sort of hit to like keep you going. 10 a.m., 3 p.m., those are times. 3 p.m., you like can't get by without a nap. There was a mom who went through my course, and after a couple of weeks of Mama Baby Biome, she was like, I don't take my afternoon nap anymore. And that was literally just through making the dietary changes. It's fantastic because we are on a blood sugar roller coaster, and that is just, we don't have to be, right? Like we can just change up the nutrients that we are consuming and no longer have to sleep all the time, right? And then, and then I also said that piece about like, but getting deep, good sleep at night. And I am a breastfeeding mom who gets woken up still. My daughter's 18 months. She wakes me up in the night, but I most of the time wake up feeling really rested. And the best times I do is when I honor that thing about going to bed at 8:30 so that I have that space to really sleep for as much as I need to get into some good REM cycles. Okay. Cool. So I think we covered the mom fatigue topic pretty well. I'm going to go to the chat in just a moment. We're going to move on through. Okay, so bloated after meals and irregular digestion since your birth. So what happens when we have a baby? We grow a baby inside of our body. It pushes up against all of our organs. It's extreme hormonal changes, and it is very like the word stress. So stress isn't always bad for the body. Like we can have good stressful experiences, but birth is one of those ones that is a good stressful experience, or it can be, to the spectrum of a stressful traumatic experience, right? And I've had both. So when we go through all of those changes in our bodies, our digestion takes a hit because mostly more stress, but also the rearranging of the organs, just out of our routines, right? And it's like, it can also bring so much joy, so much peace, and so much happiness, which can actually really support your digestion. But I see moms with lingering issues since pregnancy and birth, basically because I really think a main reason is because we don't have a system where moms are getting their physiologic needs met postpartum. And so part of what I do in my courses and in my work is I let moms have that postpartum, whether that means they are setting up a time, having a conversation with their family members and saying like, hey, for the next 40 days, I'm going to be resting more and I'm going to be eating in this particular way, or they just emphasize those foods that they needed during that time and didn't get. So we actually can redo, which is great. And you can honor yourself in that way by giving yourself more time to rest and replenish, even if you didn't get it after birth. So maybe you don't even know what I'm talking about, but throughout time, all over the world, there are indigenous practices which honor the postpartum. You might have heard of like the first 40 days. That's actually a great book that teaches the Chinese medicine perspective to the postpartum window and the postpartum time. But the idea is that physiologically, we have needs. We have 5 physiologic needs after birth. And if we don't get those, that is going to impact our health for the rest of our lives. Now, if you didn't get those or you didn't know about this, that's okay because it's kind of just coming back. Like, obviously, my mom didn't have a postpartum when she had me, but Kimberly Ann Johnson is a huge pioneer in this work. There are others too, but Kimberly wrote The Fourth Trimester, and she's a mentor of mine. And she laid out in this really wonderful book that's great to give to your friends and family, what are those 5 physiologic needs? So rest is number 1. Warm, nourishing, nutrient-dense foods is number 2. Contact with nature is number 3, which can literally just be like looking out at a window, seeing the leaves, like acknowledging that nature's there. Wise women and touch, healing touch. So those are the 5 things that we need. And so if we don't get those after birth, then we're going to see disarray in our organ systems and organ functions. A lot of times that's irregular digestion. It could be changes based on antibiotics that were given in birth. It could be, just a stressful event, any other medications that were given in birth, and that really changed your digestion, or the physiologic changes, whatever happened with your body in your birth, C-section or vaginal. And so we can just go back and repair that. And we really want to start north to south, first with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, getting those balanced and functioning properly or functioning better. Stomach acid, making sure you chew your food. And then we can support further down as well with the microbiome. All right, the last two topics I'm going to cover for today are why motherhood is the perfect time to work on your gut health and what is the mama baby microbiome. So, why now? Because this doesn't, even though it's hectic and crazy, this doesn't have to be a time where you're just barely getting by. In fact, I think that this should be a time where you're absolutely thriving, loving your life, taking care of your little ones, enjoying these children. And by the way, they are really peaceful, happy, joyous children as well, because their diets are matching yours, which creates, that state of bliss and joy and peace, all of that. You source your food locally, you have community, or even if you go to the grocery store, you know what to look for. You enjoy cooking your food and involving your children in cooking your food. And this is really a legacy that we're passing on to our children, not just the healthy body, but also the ability to know how to cook food, because it's really a lost art, which is crazy. So one of the things that I do is I teach moms how to cook food. I worked as a private chef for 5 years for a billionaire, and I cooked on private jets and I flew around the world, and it was really crazy, but I learned a lot, and I had an unlimited farmers market budget. And it was amazing because I would source all the food locally. I would cook super simple dishes that would wow everyone because it was the most high quality food. And so that is what I teach moms to do. Not only is it the best for us to digest, but it is the best for the secure local food economy and for our bodies. It's amazing. It's so fun and delicious. And I was a little bit nervous, or I would say insecure, to share this message on some level because I thought, oh, maybe people don't care about that, or they're, not going to make time for that, or they just want to feel better in their body. They don't care about local foods. And this was like 5 years ago. But so many times moms came back to me and said again and again, I love knowing who I'm getting my food from. Like, I love my rancher. I got the best hookup for my meat, and it just makes such a difference. It turns, their weekly grocery shopping into this chore that they dread into something that they're really, really proud of and connected with those around them, which just on an existential level makes mothering so much better. It's like, phew, got the market coming up. Like, everybody's gonna say like, hey to my kids. We know we're gonna get our stuff. It's so fun. Then we're gonna come home and we're gonna cook nourishing food, which is going to change my family's health trajectory for generations. So it seems like a lot, but it's actually real, and it's so, so replenishing on so many levels. So there's that. Right. Motherhood is the perfect time for gut health. Got a little excited there. Forgot what I was talking about. The other thing is that, I don't know, I'm always like a now person. When I feel drawn to something and I know I need to make a change, it's like, why not now? And inside Mama Baby Biome, I help you do that by, teaching you how to source, teaching you what to prioritize, helping you reflect on what is the body telling you. Yeah. And I think really, yeah, it just comes down to wanting to just super enjoy, wanting our babies and children to be comfortable. Like I said, my inroad to this work first when I became a nutritionist was my own mental health, anxiety, and depression. And I had adrenal fatigue. I was like, got out of dance school. I'm a dancer. I got out of my BFA and I was like completely shot. I was so tired from dancing 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for 4 years and all the other crazy things I did in college to deplete myself. That, and then I had mental health problems. I had anxiety, I had depression, and I just didn't want that. I was like, I don't want to live like this. And so went to nutrition school, and then I had a baby. And this baby had symptoms that I knew in my gut were wrong, and I knew they were connected to his microbes and his microbiome. And a little bit more about me, I actually prepared my body for about 18 months before having a baby. My husband did the same because I was going through the GAPS training, and that's what Dr. Natasha had us do. It was amazing. And so I had put a lot of work into supporting my body before having a baby. And so to have that birth, to have all those antibiotics, it was really devastating for me. And my son's body reflected it, but it also reflected his resilience. And when I put the right things in place, his body healed like right before my eyes. And it was the most amazing thing because I had learned all of this in school, but then in firsthand, I was able to see his body change. He had this recurring pimple that came up and up and up. It would go away and would come back, it would go and away, it came back. Finally, it just went away. He had on and off constipation, diarrhea, all these crazy poops. Now he's 3.5. He poops twice daily, snake poop in the potty, right? Like it's just, he really his behavior, I would see so much his behavior like flexing, between crankiness, whininess, clinginess, into like just this little boy who could play independently and so loving and sweet. And for a long time, we really worked with that behavior piece with the food and it changed. And the main thing was his spitting up, chronic spitting up every day. That was like the most obvious one because I would make all this breast milk and then he'd puke it up like 15 times a day. And I'd be like, okay. He didn't seem super uncomfortable, but I still was like, something's not right. So I changed my diet. And this was 4 months into my postpartum. So he was about like 3.5, 4 months old. His spit up went away 80%. And then I started him on the gut building protocol that I teach in my starting solids class. And his spit up went away 100%. Like I tell the story, which is actually true, of course, but it's kind of surprising. He like burped. He did like this one big burp and then he never spit up again. So profound. And then since then, I've been teaching moms to do the same, and moms have reversed their baby's eczema and they've reversed their own digestive issues. They have a lot more life force, vitality, and that is what I teach in Mama Baby Biome. And that is because of my own experience. That is why I think that this is the perfect time to work on gut health, because it's worth it for our kids, for ourselves, for the whole family unit. It feels really, really good. All right. I think I covered it. So 15 things in the chat. That's great. I want to let you know right now about Mama Baby Biome. So Mama Baby Biome is going to be re-released. I'm so excited next week. If you are interested in purchasing Mama Baby Biome, you get an additional discount today, which is $200 off of the price of the course. So today only, if you've been like sitting on this, you've been waiting for Mama Baby Biome to come out, you know about Mama Baby Biome, then this is your time for the best price that you're going to get. So Mom Baby Biome is a self-paced course. It has 8 modules. We talk about digestion. We talk about the microbiome. We talk about your blood sugar. There's tons of cooking recipes. It has a cookbook. We talk about the nervous system. We talk about lifestyle integration. There's toolkits, symptom toolkits for eczema, allergies. So when I first built this, it was about me and Augie's story. And the course was what I did to heal myself. It was both what I did preconception and what I did to heal myself after the birth. So that's what Mom Baby Biome is. But since then, it's grown into so much more because moms came into the course with a toddler and a baby. Moms came into the course with older children. And so Mama Baby Biome is really the whole family ecosystem gut healing course. And you can get that for $200 off today. And then if you want to, this is the new programming that's coming along with Mama Baby Biome. You can add on live calls with me plus access to a Facebook group. So that is going to be 2 calls per month for 3 months plus access to a Facebook group that goes along with the course. So you can just do the course DIY or you can add on the Facebook group and the live calls. And so anyone here who's in Mama Baby Biome, you'll get those calls as well. If you're here already, and you'll get an email about the details about that. So we're going to have 2 scheduled calls with me and my team in different time zones so that you can be there live, and a Facebook group to support you. So you have to add that on to your purchase when you buy the course. And today only for this pre-sale, you're going to get an extra $200 off. Okay, I'm going to put the link in the chat and then I'm going to go to questions. I'm very excited. This has been a long time coming. Yay! Okay, great. Kirsten, she says she's been waiting for it. So excited. Love Kirsten. Okay. Let's go back up, my loves. So, Vero's here. Hi. All right. What snacks, foods, baby food do you recommend when traveling on a plane? This is from Priscilla. So, Priscilla, I have a post on this on Instagram. It's pretty recent, but what I basically do is bring all the foods that we typically eat. So I bring boiled eggs, I bring roast sliced in a container, I bring meat stock, and I bring kefir. So all things for baby. I actually have a travel guide for the baby biome course too. So if you're in the baby biome course, you can purchase that travel guide, which has like 4 pages, 5 pages of all the details. All right, Anna, in your picky eaters course, you say that you can use a chicken carcass to make meat stock. To me, that means it sounds like no meat on the carcass. Okay, great question. So anytime you get a chicken carcass that is raw, there's going to be meat on the bone. Can we make meat stock with a chicken carcass, no meat, and maybe topping with some wings and feet? Yeah, absolutely. So there's going to be some meat on that bone, and then adding wings or feet is like perfect. That will make a super jelly stock. My main go-to for chicken stock is a feet, carcass and feet, or carcass, feet, or carcass and heads. I like that too. Okay. All right, Vero, what would be helping from a dark circle adrenal glands only from a whole food suggestion or a symptom of toxicity or adrenal problems? Yeah, so we can actually look more closely at the dark circles under the eyes. Generally, that means liver support. So you're doing all the things to support the liver every day, beet kvass. You're about to start the binder, which is going to be supportive. Vero and I are working together in my group coaching program, so I know her. If you have on the dark circles, if you see an extra little dot of pink or a darker bruise closer to where the corner of the eye is, that's an adrenal bruise. So that will show you that the adrenals are also struggling. And, for a child, like we're just going to keep on going, keep on doing what we're doing. But cholesterol, making sure getting plenty of good cholesterol from food, plenty of good sunshine, and then ultimately we're supporting the liver. We're working on, lessening the burden for your child. And so, yeah. Do you want to come off mute? I see you. No, you're good. Okay. Okay, great. All right. Is it problematic to cook meat stock for 5 or 6 hours to deepen the flavor? No, that's great. For beef, you have to cook that long. For chicken, I think just like 2 hours is like kind of top, but if you want more flavor, add more salt, and then when you drink it, add ghee or butter. What about cod liver oil? Love cod liver oil. I recommend 2 brands. One's Green Pastures fermented cod liver oil, and one's Rosita's. I don't recommend any other brand because I don't vouch for them. Like I haven't researched them. Would stomach acid have to do anything with slow weight gain? Yes, could definitely have to do with it. As soon as I got pregnant, I got an eczema rash. I'm now 15 months postpartum and I'm still flaring on lots of herbs to clear pathogens, and the bacteria came from a stool test. Would stomach acid also be related to this? So, like, stomach acid is going to have a relationship to anything that has to do with digestion. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's everyone's issue, but yeah, yes, like having more stomach acid helping you break down your foods better, that's great. And I don't use a ton of herbs or like to clear things. I mostly use food, but I do use probiotic foods that would help clear things. So I think Mom Baby Biome would be great for you. Sophie says, what is HCl? It stands for hydrochloric acid. If baby's milk is coming up curdled, does that mean it's thrush or that it's further down the digestive system? So if there's thrush, that's going to be shown to you by like white on the tongue. Um, and if your baby's milk comes up curdled, that just means that it's been in the stomach for a long enough time for it to start to be digested. Whereas sometimes when babies spit up, you know how it's just basically like the milk again, like it's not curdled, it's not chunky, it's just like clear and kind of runny. That's like they basically either drank a little too much or it's a blood sugar thing. Sometimes it's a blood sugar, meaning too much sugars in that milk. But when it comes up curdled, it just means that it's been in the stomach for longer, essentially. Okay. Al says, my kiddo has MCAS, so a little nervous about the apple cider vinegar. Thoughts on alternatives? Okay, so for mast cell activation syndrome, I would really follow Whole Body Healing with Jen. She's a really great person to learn about that from. I do have a histamine lesson in Mama Baby Biome, and I totally understand about your nervousness around using apple cider vinegar because of the fermented food aspect. but I would actually be starting way ahead of that. Like I would be wondering just more about what your child eats in general, and then I could give you a better recommendation. But without knowing that, I can't really give you a good recommendation. However, in Mama Baby Biome, like for you, it would be about going super slow with the healing foods so that your child can build up more strength. And like the histamine thing is kind of complicated because healing in itself is a high histamine event. So there's definitely a lot of that like getting through point. But the main thing that works really well in these cases is using like micro doses of the healing food, so much so that we don't even notice, but actually healing is happening. And so we get to this baseline where we can actually add in more healing foods. Okay. My baby's 9 months old and he was tolerating everything and anything, all the allergens, but now whatever I feed in his mouth, his chin would have some red flare up. He has a red rash on both sides of his shoulder and it's just not going away. What could I do? Should I start from the beginning? I'm so confused. Oh, yeah, that's really tough. So yeah, I would go back to basics. So basic healing foods, like no fruits, just the building foods. And if you haven't done any of those, then I think looking into Mama Baby Biome or the First Foods Plan, probably the First Foods Plan would be really good for you, just so that you can start to bring the inflammation down because babies, in my opinion, babies don't actually need all the allergens right away. So if he's had wheat, if he's had soy, those kinds of things, like that's just not what he needs right now. And it doesn't mean he's allergic to them. We just want to support his microbiome first and foremost. So the First Foods Plan is definitely where you're at, where to start. Sarah says, wow, I feel seen. That was, I think, about the adrenal fatigue, blood sugar conversation. Okay. Kirsten says, this knowledge is so life-changing, something that's absolutely lost through the generations. I teach my mom and grandma all the time. Thanks to you. Yeah, me too. For as much as they'll listen. How does the oral microbiome play a role in the gut microbiome? How to support and correct the oral microbiome? Super good question. Okay, so obviously we have a microbiome all over our bodies. We have a microbiome in our blood. We have a microbiome in our heart, in our lungs, in our gut. We have the biggest microbes conglomeration in our gut, but all of the microbes spill over into each other. So we have like that's why it's helpful to work on our gut because the most are there, and by doing that we're supporting all of the gut microbes. I work a lot with the probiotic liquids, which is very good for systemic cleansing. So oral microbiome is going to be changed through probiotics, through food, and all the time I'm talking about the oral microbiome because like that has a lot to do with picky eating and how the type of foods that we're craving and wanting. And interestingly, from a pregnancy standpoint, the oral microbiome most closely mimics the placenta. So there's so much talk about oral health for pregnancy, and that's just one more reason why we want to put that emphasis on our mouth when we're pregnant because the placental microbiome most closely mimics the oral microbiome. Now, if we're talking about for a kid or for yourself, that's a pretty simple fix. Like you could swish with probiotics. You could change up what you're brushing your teeth with. You could change your diet. All of those are going to impact your oral microbiome. And, we swallow everything that then goes into our stomach and then into our digestion. So that's another way that we can improve our digestion overall by supporting and healing our oral microbiome. Madeline's asking, how did you come up with the protocol you used and teach with your son? I'm a GAPS practitioner, and so I utilized Dr. Natasha's wisdom, and I worked with a lot of mothers and babies, and I just adjusted it based on what I learned through working with mothers and babies. Okay. So if you already have Mama Baby Biome, correct, you're good. Does freezing meat stock cause it to lose nutritional value? No, it does not. What would I suggest for those allergic to milk when it comes to kefir? So, great question, because I teach all about allergens in both the First Foods course and Mama Baby Biome. So we basically work to heal the gut so that we can heal the immune system and no longer be allergic to milk, which is fantastic. So you are going to heal your gut first and foremost, working on building foods, and then we're going to start to reintroduce ghee. Milk is lactose specifically is what we're avoiding in the Mama Baby Biome method because that is sugar. And so sugar feeds pathogens. We're trying to starve out some of those pathogens, but more so just balance the blood sugar, support digestion, and then start to slowly and gradually reintroduce those foods. And I've helped a lot of people do it, and it does work really well. So when I talk about drinking dairy, eating dairy, it's a very specific type of dairy. We're eating really high quality dairy that's fermented at home. And it actually is pretty easy to heal. Dairy is one of the most adulterated foods in the world, so it doesn't surprise me at all that people are sensitive to it. But we work on a high quality dairy as a part of the healing, and it's one of the first things that people are so excited to bring back in because they miss having dairy, and it's so satisfying. Like many moms are just like so tired and so underfed, and missing dairy or having been on an elimination diet for so long is a big reason why they feel that way. And so part of, yeah, we eliminate certain foods in the mom baby biome method, but we focus so much on adding back in. Like that is the point. We don't want to be on elimination diets forever. And by the way, you probably don't even want to be on the mom baby biome method protocol forever. You want to have food freedom, right? And once you get to the root cause of your problem, you can have that freedom. Like I had some sourdough bread this morning because I'm good. It's totally fine. Now there was a period of time where I was leaving all that out because I was exercising my discipline to help my body get stronger and to really help my baby's body get stronger. And that's no problem for me because it's a period of time. And even when I didn't have that bread, I really enjoyed what I was eating. So I want you to really, really enjoy what you're eating and not feel like you're just restricted, depleted, and depressed. And I think that getting the right nutrients in the right quantity makes a huge difference. Liz is asking. And then so Sarah asked about lactose intolerance. Yeah, that's covered in the course. And basically it's a building block. You build up to being able to actually mostly consume lactose-free milk, but then once you're doing that continuously for a long time with no symptoms, you can have a little lactose here and there. You can get back to like raw milk or, even some high quality ice cream and that kind of thing. If you were to freeze a bunch of food for your first 40 days, what would you batch cook? Oh, so good. I would batch cook like anything that can be heated up in a crock pot because that's going to be so easy for you to do. So you make it in a crock pot, freeze it, then heat it back up in a crock pot. I would focus on lots of meat stock. I would probably make like some pancakes, like my lentil pancake recipe and freeze a bunch of those. Like roast, slow cooked chicken, meat, that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, I would do it differently for MCAS and histamine, and I have a histamine lesson in the course, but I also recommend whole body healing with Jen. Do I think you can overload a 9-month-old with cod liver oil? Like, should I be careful? I mean, I think we could probably overload on anything, but generally speaking, it's very hard to get too much from liver. I know that's a controversial take right now, but I personally have eaten so much liver and I've never felt negative side effects. Now, if you have taken Accutane in your life or you have some noted liver damage, yes, I would proceed cautiously. I would not go crazy with the liver. But other than that, you can eat liver. If your 9-month-old is really loving cod liver oil, like 1 teaspoon is good every day. And then I would start giving more fats and more cholesterol-rich foods that have a similar profile but aren't just the cod liver oil. Like I'd give liver, I'd make sure to give bone marrow, I'd be giving all the good nutrient-dense foods. Would more stomach acid help with nausea during pregnancy? Yes. Uh, what's the best thing for eczema? 10 months old, showing the first signs now. First foods plan. I teach exactly what to do for eczema. At the end of the day, how do you eat so much and so clean on a budget? Good question. So really, I've done this at different income levels. I've always just like made it work. For example, when I first moved to Seattle, I tried all the pastured meat at the market, picked the one I liked the best, and asked for a job and traded for my meat. So, not saying that at this stage of your mothering that that's really the option for you or what you can do, but it can work at every level. Buying in bulk is really good. You don't eat out really, so you save a lot of money there. You don't buy packaged snacks, so you save a lot of money there. It is expensive, but it's also makes it so that you have like I mean, it's lifestyle choice, right? Like I never get my nails done. I never get my hair done. We buy used cars. We we just make it work. We integrate it because it's the most important thing. And we buy the most affordable cuts. I mean, I can make chicken head meat stock for $2 a pound and get a ton of it, right? And I pick all that little meat off every carcass and put it in my chicken soup. And I know how to shop at the farmer's market. So, for example, when you go there and it's the first tomatoes of the season, they're going to be very expensive because it's the first tomatoes of the season. But at the end of the season, that farmer's going to have so many tomatoes, they're giving them away. And so that's when I get all the tomatoes and make my sauce. You know what I mean? I mean, giving away, they're not giving them away, but they're really hoping someone uses them so they don't rot. And then like there's other, I would look into like in certain parts of the world, like when I used to live in Washington, they had these programs where you could come and collect fruit like that would fall from the trees because the fruit trees are just so abundant. So it was like connected to the university. I would fish, I would connect to hunters, like just if there's a will, there's a way kind of thing with sourcing foods to heal and then relying on cheaper cuts initially. Like my family eats so much ground beef. And if you can get some cash together to buy like a bulk beef, you're going to get it for much cheaper per pound, but you're also going to see how much ground beef there literally is. And so we don't eat steaks every day. Of course, like we have beef to eat. We have ground beef. So I rely so much on ground beef and I love it because I don't actually rely on my food for my dopamine anymore. I used to be addicted to sugar and coffee and alcohol and all kinds of things. And so I was relying on dopamine hits from mostly sugar, bread, coffee. And now I get my dopamine from my healthy gut, my neurotransmitters, and my family and our lifestyle. So bland food is a-okay with me, right? Because it just tastes so good. All right. I love that question though, Elena. Thanks for bringing that up because it is something, that we should acknowledge and talk about as a community of mothers. My baby spits up a few times a day. I don't think it's reflux, but it doesn't seem to bother him. It comes up, but doesn't often come out of his mouth. Thoughts? Yeah, I I'm like with you. It seems like it's not really bothering him. You could make some tweaks in your diet, support yourself, support him, but ultimately he's gonna grow, get stronger, be able to digest his food better, I think. Okay, kefir brands for babies. I recommend making your own kefir. But if you're going to buy one for the store from the store, it needs to be like the best would be if you get it from a farmer. It could be raw, but it needs to be pasteurized, low temp pasteurized, and no added anything. No gums, no sweeteners, no sugars, just the milk kefir. Okay. Okay, so Sarah's saying I have high C-reactive protein levels. How could that be at play in the GI tract? So typically that has to do with bacterial, uh, like chronic infections in the system. So I'd have to know some more information, but all things can be supported through changing your diet and working on your microbiome health. So that's a really good place to start. And I would look maybe into clearing some stuff with homeopathy, perhaps. Okay. All right, Sophie's, if you're wanting the free first foods starting solids guide, you can email us directly. Try it from directly from my website too. That is helpful and look in promotions and also spam. My baby's 14 months and has quite a few symptoms, including rashes, dairy allergies, animal allergies, and hardly wants to eat properly. What course would be best for us? He's breastfed and still is his main source of food. Mom and baby biome, for sure. Once you get over that 12-month mark, first foods you're kind of aged out of it. But the main difference between mom baby biome and first food, so first foods course is a fantastic course and it's all about starting solids. So it's just like week by week starting solids, the cooking videos to support that, and some more contextual videos that explain maybe why your baby's having symptoms. Mom baby biome is fully comprehensive in that it's going to teach you about your body. It's going to teach you how to change your family's food systems. It's going to show you how to do that. It's going to give you more information about those symptoms. So like we have lectures on the eczema, we have lectures on picky eating, we have lectures on all the main topics. We call it the symptom toolkit so that you're able to go through and use the course in a way that you are implementing the changes, which are going to help your body overall, but then get more specific information about what you're going through. Do I think vaccines play a role in forming eczema? My son had strong reflux and gas since birth. At 3 months, he started showing signs of eczema, which was exactly 1 week after he had 3-week vaccines at once. Yes, I do think vaccines can play a role. Any medication, antibiotics, vaccine can all play a role in the microbiome. And even though your child was vaccinated, of course you can help heal his microbiome. Absolutely. And then I just wanted to say one more piece about the first foods course and Mom Baby Biome. They're complementary, so they were always designed to go together. So you will have some overlapping concepts, but new material. Like you won't get the Mom Baby Biome and be like, this is everything that's in the first foods course. I would not do that. Kai is asking, is it bad to heat meat stock in the microwave? Or better said, will it lose nutritional value? Yeah, don't use the microwave. Just go ahead and heat it up in a little pot. Hey, Kate, my neighbors have goat milk on their farm and have offered goat milk for my 7-month-old. Thoughts? Offering raw milk, should it be little by little in instructions? So what I would do, Sarah, is ferment that milk. I wouldn't offer raw milk right at the beginning. It's not unsafe. Some babies do really good on raw milk. If you were transitioning to formula, then a raw milk formula would be much better than formula. But I would do a goat milk yogurt, so fermenting that just to remove some of the lactose, some of the sugar, adding probiotics, it's going to be even better for your little one. Sophie, you can heal it, Sophie. Do I help UK families all the time? I have a ton of people from the UK in my course. Okay, Elena says, my baby was sensitive to cow milks, did some healing with stock, and she's doing better now with goat yogurt, but all she asked for is yogurt. Is this considered picky? Should I try ghee now? No, it's not considered picky. It's considered smart. So make sure your yogurt is 24-hour fermented, and we can just let her body eat as much yogurt as she wants. Eventually, she will get her fill. This might take a week or a couple weeks or a few days. And she'll be good. Now, if it's not 24-hour fermented, then she might be craving the sugar or really getting a hit from a lot of the sugar in the yogurt. And so I would just make sure that it's adequately fermented for 24 hours. Ivy says, this is my first time joining your Zoom. My baby's 5 months and has eczema all over her body. She hasn't started solids yet. I also have eczema, but it's gotten better since I was pregnant with her. I hope to heal her eczema with food. What should I do? You should join the first foods course and add on Mama Baby Biome, or just join the first foods course. That's where everyone, perfect age for it. If you wanted to work on your diet too, then that's where Mama Baby Biome would come in and be really helpful. So Mama Baby Biome, mama for the mama, which helps the baby because they're intrinsically connected. First foods course, just all about how to start solids for your baby. Can you give a 20-month-old too much liver pate? Good question. I personally don't think so. Yeah, no. Deboning chicken feet. Oh yeah, Madeline, you don't have to debone them. You can just take the paw out, the little soft paw after it's cooked, and any of the skin that easily comes off. Otherwise, it's way too complicated. Hi, Kate. I live in Mexico. It's really fine to find pasture-raised meat. What would you recommend? I would say just get the best that you can. Talk to some local people and see who's raising the meat and get the best you can. Outdoor raised is great. 17-month-old doesn't like liver pate. Do you like the liver pate? That's always my question. Does it taste good to you? And if it does, then that would just be about like going really small, little licks on the tongue and not making a huge deal about it. Brooke says, what are your thoughts on gut tests like Tiny Health? Useful or no? So glad you asked. I typically don't do any testing. If we're going 2 years and you've done every single thing amazing with your diet and no changes or like you still can't eat certain foods without having a reaction, then that might be worth testing. But ultimately, if we're talking about allocating our money in a way that is the best in my idea, it's like put that money towards healing foods and education to help you to know, because ultimately that test is only the end of the bowels and different tests are going to be more comprehensive. So that's only testing one part of her microbiome, your baby's microbiome, and we want to know more about what's going on. And there are some tests that I've heard from my colleagues that can test other microbes, other microbiomes and other parts of the bodies that are really comprehensive and good. But generally speaking, I think mom's energy is best put into working with the healing foods and then testing later if, there's still something lingering, right? Because we're already implementing the solution by changing the food, changing the diet, helping the microbiome. Vera says, would it be okay to use a kimchi recipe with rice flour? I would not. I would just leave it out. Leave out the rice. I make my kimchi without rice. Yeah. Is it bad to heat meat stock? Yes. I use the baby milk warmer. Great. Love that. Random question. Assuming I need to stay away from sugar and bacon and breakfast sausage. Yes. That's so good. Good point. We just made our own bacon. And let me tell you guys, it was so good and it was a lot easier. Now, my husband, he likes to grill. So we have a grill and a smoker. It's 2-in-1. Got it at Walmart for $200. Best freaking purchase because that means he's cooking a lot more, which is awesome. But we actually split the cooking responsibility 50-50 in our house, and it just has always been something that we've done since even before we had kids. But we had a pork belly, covered it in salt, smoked it for like 5 hours maybe, and then we sliced it then, and it was the best bacon. It was so good. So yeah, we always are talking to our farmers because sometimes they're just putting sugar in there, and we, in our minds, we're like, why did you spend so much time raising this meat so well, only to put chicken in this or sugar in the sausage? It just doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't, and they're like, oh, people like it doesn't taste good. I'm like, it definitely does. We buy the plain sausage all the time and add our own salt. It tastes delicious. Do raw yolks have more nutrients than cooked? Yes, they do, because you cook out some of the B vitamins. They're super delicate, and when you eat them raw, you're not you're getting all the nutrition. Okay, we're coming to a close here, but Sarah's asking, my little one and I eat out of the same bowl. Our diet is now ground meat, shredded chicken, Bulgarian yogurt or plain skyr, avocados, and scrambled eggs. I add tricolor quinoa for myself, though when I feed him some bites some bites get in his mouth. Grains are not included in his diet now, other than that. I wouldn't do grains for little babies. I just don't. I don't think they need them, but if it feels good to you and it's okay, then that's okay. Rachel's saying, thoughts on oxalates? Yes. My husband read the toxic superfood books and thinks all his health issues, pain, plaque, literally everything stemming from oxalates, and getting him on board with beet kvass or anything with oxalates has been a struggle. Your husband is right. Oxalates are a problem, but there is not really a high oxalate content in beets themselves so much as the beet greens. But what I would say is that your body with a healthy and robust microbiome can handle some small amounts of oxalates. So he would do great in the mom baby biome protocol. Like if the whole family got on it and he got on it too, that would help his body so much. And I would say that the burden that is caused on the liver from the oxalates is more supported through beet kvass than not. But that said, you could always just leave that out for now. I mean, he can drink sauerkraut brine. That's fine. He can do that. But just remind him that, like, yes, oxalates are a true, real problem. I totally agree. And I don't talk about it that much because we're working on the microbiome health and I don't have a super high oxalate food list anyway. And so when you have a robust and healthy microbiome, oxalates aren't really a big deal, right? Like people used to eat spinach, like they would make spinach dip, which was spinach with cream and milk and cheese, and it was so delicious. And now what are people doing? Putting it raw in our smoothies. That doesn't make any sense, okay? So it's a big difference in how a food is prepared, how we can digest it, and how our microbiomes are doing. So there's context for everything, but I agree. And oxalate dumping happens in the course. People say specific symptoms. I've had oxalate dumping myself, canker sores, any weird fuzzy feeling in the mouth, coating on the teeth, that's oxalate dumping. And it happens when you go on the mom baby biome protocol because we all have some oxalate overload from eating things that are high oxalate that aren't really meant to be our food. But the main thing we emphasize in in mom baby biome is the meats, plus seasonal and local vegetables and fermented foods. Yeah. Okay. So the code for today is center. So put center in when you're buying the course and you will get the discount, which is $200 off. Yes. So Madeline says, I don't have as many oxalate issues, which I did for years after detoxing what I think it was Candida. Right. So Candida is actually a protector. So this is a great topic to end on because we talk a lot about Candida and every mom is always asking me about heavy metal cleanses, parasite cleanses, etc. Candida is crazy because what yeast will do in the body. So first of all, we know about Candida because that's been the most studied strain of yeast, but there's actually lots of strains of yeast which can come into our body and then they can off gas over 100 different types of toxic gases, which is really what you're feeling when you have die off. So yeast blooms, okay? Yeast, this is a perfect, you can pretty much picture that because in nature, like mushrooms will grow in all kinds of crazy shapes. And when you think about yeast blooming in the body, it kind of makes sense, right? So it blooms. It can grow the size of a tube sock. So it can be as long as your forearm. It pokes holes through the guts. So when there's yeast in the microbiome, it will poke holes through your gut and cause leaky gut. It will go and it will wrap itself around toxins, which could be oxalates, which could be heavy metals, and it will actually protect your organs from those metals, okay, from that toxin. So when it comes to Madeline's example, she detoxed Candida or balanced the Candida in her body. So we actually, when Candida is in balance with a healthy microbiome, we have no symptoms from it. But when it's overgrown because there's a high toxic load or there's too much sugar, et cetera, not enough protective beneficial microbes, Candida runs wild. So it's covering up this protective mechanism. And the more beneficial Candida that we get in our body, the more that our body is able to calmly release those toxins, balance, and the microbes themselves can eat up and support those toxins. The microbes can produce substances which helps our liver get rid of those toxins. So when it comes to anything like heavy metals or high yeast in the body, yes, it might be there. The yeast is protecting you, and we actually don't want to just straight up kill all that yeast because we want the body to be able to safely let go of those toxins in its own time. And we want to bring balance to the ecosystem. And when we come up to roadblocks, like, oh my gosh, I've been working at this for years and I cannot get rid of all this candida, likely there's an underlying problem, which is a toxin that your body's protecting you from. And then that's where, after the body's strong enough, we can use things like binders and stuff like that to make more progress. But we first want to strengthen and balance the microbiome before we do anything with a parasite type of cleanse, right? And guess what? Just by changing your foods and balancing your microbiome, your body can release parasites, your body can release yeast, your body can release mucus, which carries toxins and all kinds of things. So you'll see that happen. You'll see things come out of your body. You'll see your dark circles disappear. You'll see your children fill out. You'll see like more brightness and lightness in their face. They'll have rosy cheeks, that kind of thing, because we are supporting the overall body, and that's pretty much at the root of it what I teach moms to do. Yes, if you use the payment plan, you do get the discount for sure. You definitely get the discount. Yeah. So just to close, to remind you all that Mom Baby Biome is coming out. The official launch is going to be next week, and you'll see me talking about it a lot on Instagram. I'm not going to talk about it today because this is for just people who signed up for the call. You will get an email with the additional discount if you'd like to join Mama Baby Biome. And if you want to have the live calls with me, which are 2 times per month plus access to a Facebook group, you have to add that on. So otherwise, you're just getting the foundational course, the DIY, do it yourself. If you want to be on live calls with me, similar to this, where we're talking about your symptoms, you have to add that on at checkout. And if you're already in Mama Baby Biome, you're going to get information about those calls in the Facebook group and how we're proceeding with that. Okay? Yeah? Thank you all so much. Oh, Nathalie, you're saying thoughts on fasting while breastfeeding. Great question. This is definitely a bio-individual one. Oh yeah, the discount code is CENTER. We'll put that in. Alex, can you put that in with the link again for them? Yeah, so look, there's a normal cycle of feasting and fasting that happens if your body is naturally wanting to fast. That's okay. I wouldn't be doing like 24-hour fasts when I'm breastfeeding just because you are going to move toxins around. And yeah, I just wouldn't probably do that. But I definitely fast from like 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. sometimes, or, I normally fast. I'm very, aware of what my body's nutritional needs are. My baby's 18 months now. And so, yeah, I have like done some fasting. I think if you feel good on it, it's not out of the question, but I wouldn't push it to extremes with a young baby, just in general. So Judith, what are you saying? Add on the meal plan. Use Alex put in the link here. So excited to be with you all to add the meal plan course. Yeah. We can get that for you. We will make sure that that add-on might not be there because of the coaching, but we can send you an email after you purchase to make sure that you get it. Yeah, so we're gonna have more free calls this week and next week, so make sure to join me there too. And again, if you want the best discount, if you've been waiting for Mom Baby Biome, or you're new here and you think like, oh, this is for me, today's gonna be the best deal. If you need to think about it, you're still gonna get a deal next week. It's just gonna be not as good as this deal, but it will still be a deal, which is still good. So yeah, would I recommend this course for those who are not yet moms? Yes, I would. I think that this is a perfect thing for people who aren't yet moms because it's everything I did to prepare my body for pregnancy. So it's great. And you can, from an audience standpoint, like there's only so many different types of people you can talk to. So I don't talk to that demographic as much, but I would love to. I just have so many things to talk about with moms who already have babies. So I mostly do that. But yeah, it's great. And we do have some women in the course who don't have babies yet. I don't know if you all know Rochelle from Innate Traditions, but she's fantastic and she sends a lot of her people to me. And a lot of those women have not yet had babies, and some of them have. So, yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your dedication to your body, to your children. And I will hopefully see you in Mama Baby Biome.